Hi, this is Kat with Beadaholique, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to wire wrap a Preciosa crystal drop pendant. Now these are beautiful little briolette style pendants here that I have, and I'm going to be using the jet here, and it's that lovely rich black, and you can see that I've used it in one of my designs here. So these little wire wraps is what I'm going to be teaching here in this tutorial. So for this, I'm going to be using some artistic wire, and I'm going to be using the 28 gauge here, and I have the gold color. So this is my craft wire that I'm going to use here. And as far as tools go, we're going to need a pair of round nose pliers. We're going to need a pair of flush cutters. And then I also like to keep a pair of wire straightening pliers over here, my little nylon jaw pliers. And I have a pair of chain nose pliers handy. I also recommend having a ruler so that we don't have any wire waste if we can avoid that. All right, so if you have everything ready to go, let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is bring out my ruler here, and I'm going to take off some wire off of my spool. Now it has this little notch here so you can keep that little tail nice and intact. So I'm going to take off a little more than about a foot or so. There we go, just a little more there. And I'm just going to set that back into my notch. And I can come in and cut that off. That way my spool is nice and tame the whole time. All right, so go ahead and set that aside. And now what I want to do is I'm just going to take, and I'm going to use my chain nose pliers here to just hold onto my wire, and I'm just going to straighten that out. I have a few little kinks at the end, so I'm just going to pull that all the way through, and it's going to just help straighten that out for me. All right, beautiful. Okay, now taking our briolette here, what we want to do is we want to slide our wire through, and you'll see how this is drilled. So it's drilled through the side there, and then we have that nice little point up at the top. Now what we want to do is slide through until we have about 3 inches or so, give or take, on one side, and then we have the rest of our wire on the other side. Now go ahead and let's bend that up, and we want it to kind of have this little crisscross effect on both sides there. So we've bent that up, so we've created that little triangle in the top there. You see how I did that? All right, so now what we want to do is we're going to take our chain nose pliers here, and we're going to come in, and what we want to do is we want to just sort of bend that up so it's a little vertical. So you see how I just sort of bent that up a little bit? And now to this one, we can take this and just kind of move that out to the side, just ever so slightly. I found that it helps just to kind of get it out of your way a little bit. So what we want to do now is go ahead and come in with your round nose pliers and grip right above that little notch, and I'm gripping the short end here, right here. And this is where we're going to create a little simple wire loop. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to wrap that around, but I want it to come behind that top wire there. So you see where it's coming? So wrap down. And now I have my little loop there. So now I'm just going to rotate my pliers. And what I want to do now is I want to bring that across. And here's where also I find it's really helpful to grip with your chain nose pliers here. And just make sure that's straight. There we go. Out to the side. And go ahead and you can grip and pull it down to the back. Now, what I like to do from here is go ahead and leave that and just wrap with your fingers and just start wrapping down your briolette there, your little drop. And you'll see that it just kind of is really nice and it just starts to formulate all by itself. And if you want, you can kind of remove your pliers if that helps you. You can just sort of use your fingers. And we're just going to wrap and wrap and wrap until we have that nice little wrap at the top. And also you can do it this way if it helps you. The 28 gauge wire is really nice and forgiving. So what we want to do is we want to wrap it until we have that little tiny tail there. And then we're just going to kind of tuck that in. Now you have an option here. If you like this style where you sort of see just the little wrap at the top, you can keep that and you can be just fine. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and just kind of help reshape that little loop there at the top. And here's where I really want to get a nice good grip on it, because I'm going to take that long tail and I'm going to swoop it down. And what I want to do is I want to continue that wrap. So I'm going to continue going all the way down that briolette, wrap and wrap and wrap. And this is going to be sort of a little mix of a nice wrap and a little bit of a messy wrap too. So you can see that it's going to have that a little effect. So you can see I can go up and then I can go down with it. And it's really going to have just a nice little look to it that's going to look really nice and organic. And now I'm just wrapping down and down and down, just kind of getting all that wire in there and coming around and just sort of making sure that that little end, I like to make sure it ends on the side there, but then you can come and straighten up that little loop there at the top if it kind of got a little wonky during all of those wraps. Another little trick is you can come in and just sort of pinch that so that we have a nice little briolette to work with. So then you can add that to one of your pieces there. So that is a really fun and easy way to sort of get into wire wrapping. It's not very complicated, and it's really easy if you're trying to use the craft wire to practice with a piece like this, because you can just, again, really reshape that wire. The 28 gauge is nice and thin. And when it comes to choosing the gauge of wire, you have to be mindful of how big that hole is on the side and what that pressure is going to look like on those pieces. So for example, in my finished piece here, I don't have any weight really pulling down on these as I do the necklace portion here. This was done with a 24 gauge wire because I know that that's going to have a little bit more wear and a little more tug on it. So you want to keep that in mind when choosing your wire as well. All right, I hope you enjoyed this video. You can get all of these supplies and see even more tutorial videos by heading over to beadaholique.com. And if you're new to our YouTube channel here, be sure to hit that subscribe button below to get all the latest from Beadaholique.